Alright guys, today is a special since we had the NFL draft last night, the first round, and we're gonna be going over just our what we think was great that happened to the teams and what we think was not very great.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of there's a mix of both today.
Yeah. Alright. For the first one, someone that got the best of last night was Nick Caserio, the general manager of the Houston Texans. Texans came into this draft with 12 selections and an opportunity to help their roster in a big way. Like they got C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson Jr. Their GM wound up making a major splash. They got great players in the first round by they got what could be the future cornerstones of the futures team offense and defense because they already have Laramie Tunsil, Will Anderson Jr. help on the other side.
Yeah, I think the Texans pulled out a major win on draft day. Everybody expected them to either take Will Anderson Jr. or C.J. Stroud at number 2. They took Stroud at 2, and then the biggest shock of the night was making the trade with the Cardinals to have back-to-back picks at 2 and 3. Really, it makes a lot of sense. The Texans had so many draft choices or draft picks available to them for a variety of different reasons that they'd stockpiled. The thing that made the most sense to do was package them up and get the best players that they could get. Made a lot of sense to me for them to package some of those picks and trade up to get 2 and 3. So the Texans have a long ways to go. They have a long ways to go. They got a lot of ground to make up to catch up to the other talented teams in the AFC, but they're well on their way after a surprising, shocking, very successful day one.
Yeah, but how did you feel when the dude went up to the stand and said there's been a trade?
Honestly, I wasn't overly shocked at first because there had been a lot of rumors of Arizona trying to trade out of that pick and try to trade down. I was definitely shocked when they said that the Texans were the team making the trade with the Cardinals. I can't think of the last time a team in the NFL had back-to-back picks in the top 5.
Yeah, that was a lot.
And so it was shocking, but I think that most Texans fans are going to be happy with that deal at least right now. We'll see what happens once everybody gets out onto the field. But Nick Caserio did a great job of making Texans fans happy and giving fans a reason to care about the team again, making that big splashy trade to get the picks at 2 and 3.
Yeah. All right, next. There's been a lot of talk that you could find a good running back anywhere in the draft, but the exceptional ones apparently still come at a premium, as Bijan Robinson went 8th overall to Atlanta Falcons, and Jahmyr Gibbs wound up being the 12th overall pick, courtesy of the Detroit Lions. How did you feel about
that? I think Bijan Robinson's not a surprise. I still think maybe it's a little too high. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. I thought that Atlanta reaching for a running back there was a bit of a stretch. And I was shocked when I saw that Jahmyr Gibbs had been drafted by Detroit at number 12. I thought that was way too high.
Yeah.
I thought that was way too high. That was maybe one of the biggest shock. The Texans still had the biggest shock of the draft, but maybe the biggest reach of the first round was the Lions going for Jahmyr Gibbs. I just think that I tend to agree with what you said at the first part. I think that you can find good running backs anywhere in the draft, and I think there were too many talented players on the board at other positions for them to go that early. I specifically specifically for the Detroit Lions, I think the Lions had 2 picks in the first round, and I think they whiffed on both of them. I think them taking Jahmyr Gibbs early in the early at number 12 was a stretch, and I think the defensive player they took from Iowa, I can't even remember his name now.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a player that could have been available to them in the second round or the third round. I just think that I couldn't figure out what Detroit was trying to do. It made me almost wonder if Matt Millen had come back as their GM, because I think the Lions were huge losers in the first round.
Yeah, right. Another GM, Howie Roseman. The Eagles were supposed to be in a tough spot when last season ended to the loss in Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. That it doesn't look so bad now, largely because Roseman continues to make killer moves. Philadelphia did lose some key players from the team that they won in the 2022 NFC title, but the trade up to now Georgia's defensive tackle Jalen Carter with the 9th pick was huge. Philadelphia can now pair him with his former college teammate Jordan Davis, and still giddy about the potential of a defensive line that was crucial part in the team's success. Yeah, like that's probably a better better defensive line. That could have been like the difference between a closer game in the Super Bowl.
I think the Eagles have absolutely killed it this offseason.
Yeah.
I think when you think about he was able to keep a lot of his roster together. Also, he was able to keep both starting quarterbacks cornerbacks. They had got the extension to Jalen Hurts, signed his extension, and then also just nailing the draft with Nolan Smith.
Yeah.
Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter. Philadelphia, I mean, the mold has been set. Philadelphia wants to win the NFC, and they want to do it with defense.
Yeah. All right, some losers. Will Levis. Levis became the latest player to suffer a difficult wait in the green room at the NFL draft, while so many other prospects heard their name called. Like a few days ago, it was 3-1 that he was gonna go first.
Yeah, he had the odds. The Vegas odds were as high as 3-1 that he'd be drafted first overall, and here we are at the end of the round 1, and he's still on the board.
And he's still not on the board. That was actually insane. That's not really a knock on Levis, but because he has sustainable talent and the type of potential to be an NFL success story. It's just that it's becoming commonplace for draft procrastinators to hype up too many quarterbacks in the weeks leading up to the draft, only to see someone drop when teams eventually start making selection. It happened last year with Malik Willis, who wound up as a 3rd-round pick after being taunted by first-rounder Justin Fields. Was supposed to be a top 5 pick in the 2021 draft, and he ended up being taken by Chicago 11th overall. Another loser, Christian Gonzalez, New England Patriots. As with Levis, Gonzalez isn't listed here because of a lack of talent. Rather, he's here because of timing. Most draft pundits had the exceptionally skilled cornerback locked in as a top 10 pick. Instead, he wound up going 17th overall after watching 2 other cornerbacks go ahead of him, Devin Witherspoon to Seattle and number 5 at Emmanuel Forbes to Washington at number 16. There were several factors at play. There was a run on offensive tackles. 2 running backs went out the top 12, and one, Bijan Robinson, heading to the Falcons franchise that also sorely needs help with the cornerback, and other teams have more obvious needs aside from the secondary. All right, you go next.
Yeah, I think just on those two, in terms of Will Levis and Christian Gonzalez, I think one of the biggest things there is just, like you said, quarterback is such an important position in the NFL. The draft pundits, those that are putting out these mock drafts, they just keep pumping up these quarterbacks because everybody needs a quarterback.
Yeah, everybody gets in their head, it's got to be a quarterback. They got to get a quarterback.
Got to get a quarterback. And, if the guy's not there, at the number where you want him, or if the guy is there at the number but you don't think that Will Levis is talented enough to go in the top 10? Well, once he got past Tennessee, of course he was going to fall.
Oh,
After Tennessee, there was nobody
else
that needed a quarterback. So,
Really
once
would've
Tennessee decided to pass on him, you knew that he was going to tank. And then same thing with Gonzalez. There was lots of teams with needs at corner that decided to go elsewhere. And then he ends up falling a little bit further than expected. And so, all it takes is one. All it takes is one team to fall in love with a guy somewhere, and then you could fall quite a bit. A couple of other losers from draft day last night. I think Josh Allen. Josh Allen's a loser, not because he's a loser, but because he could use some extra help at the wide receiver position. Didn't get it. And then also, like, the one player that they did do, they traded up at 25.
Yeah.
What they do? They took Dalton Kincaid. They took a tight end who is, from Utah, potentially the best tight end in the draft. But the Bills already had Dawson Knox, right?
Yeah,
the Bills already have a solid tight end, so it's like they're doubling up on that position there while leaving some wide receivers hanging. I'm not exactly sure what they're thinking, but that's why they get paid to do what they do. And you and I are here making a podcast.
Yeah. All right, next. All right, we're gonna do this segment pretty quick, but today's unknown sport is gonna be Quidditch. You've probably seen it from Harry Potter, Harry Potter books by J.K. Rowling, but there's those Harry Potter fanatics have created a game known as Quadball. Since 2022, team sport that was created by 2005 at Middlebury College in Vermont, United States, and was inspired by the fictional game Quidditch. 2 teams of 7 players astride fake broomsticks and opposing each other on a rectangular pitch compete with the primary objective of passing the ball through the defender's hoops while preventing the opponents from passing it through their own hoops. The real-world sport is sometimes referred to Muggle Quidditch because Muggle meant human, obviously. So yeah. Next, the rules of the sport are governed by International Quadball Association, and and the events are sanctioned by either the IQA and the nation's governing.
I'm a Quidditch player. I'm riding my broom, playing Quidditch. Man, come on, this is dumb. Playing Quidditch as an unknown sport, or as like Quidditch as a real sport, forget about it, man. You got to be a total nerd to be able to want to do that. Sure, it's great in the books, it's great in the movies, but in terms of real life, running around on a broomstick outside, 2 big thumbs down for me, man.
All right. Special thanks to Clutch Points, ESPN, and NewMovie.com, NFL.com too, as always. And like, subscribe, hit that bell. We'll see you guys later. See ya.